in the pleasure of the government's custody. Nice little places for some people. But when your sentence has been commuted, it says okay, or rather when your sentence has been finalized, one of such issues globally is the death sentence. People are saying don't do it. People are saying it's too barbaric. People are saying, look, we should move on. Some people still tell you, look, we need to continue with the death sentencing. Look, there's some crimes that only the capital punishment can solve. But here is my question. Listen very carefully. You see, in this country, we have several people who are on the death sentence list. They're on the what do you call it? Death row. Yes, they're on death row. They're waiting, to be sentenced. They're waiting for their sentences to be carried out. Now, I do know that because justice is a very tricky and finicky lady, there's room for appeal in some cases. That's why somebody might be on death row and his lawyers are filing counter motions, in a bid to, as it were, stop an innocent man, quote unquote, or woman from being killed. And I think that's a good thing. As much information should be made available so that we can all go to sleep knowing that the wrong person was not charged or even prosecuted or sentenced to death. But in this case, right, I'm not saying but in this case, that the judge says, oh, look, the burden of proof was beyond all reasonable doubt that this man is guilty. So let's do it. We find one problem, particularly in Nigeria. So people are on death row, the governors, nobody signs their death warrant. So you have people who are in prison for years. They've committed heinous crime. For the families of the victims, they may feel there is not been closure. So, how do you feel? I'm personalizing this, please. When you call me, speak for yourself. How do you feel when there are delays in carrying out sentences? In some cases, maybe it's death. Sometimes the court will tell you, oh, release Mr. Friday. He's free. You hear EFCC is doing Shegere. Yes, you now hear DSS, they misplaced the key. They be dancing Kerewa on Friday. There's a lot of things that happens. How do you feel? Because I have to say this as I open the phone line. Sometimes when these officials don't sign these death warrants, right, they feel maybe not bad. But how does a politician feel comfortable not signing a death warrant, but feels very comfortable stealing the commonwealth of the people that eventually leads to the death of more people? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our conversation.
The views and opinions shared on this program do not represent the position of Nigeriainfo FM. Nigeriainfo, let's talk. On 92.3 Nigeriainfo.
017-923-0002, 0817923-0007. At Nigeriainfo PH is where you find us on Facebook and on X at Nigeriainfo. PH is where you find us on Facebook and on X. WhatsApp is 0809-030-6416. Michael is on the line this morning. Michael is speaking to us from Port Harcourt. Michael, welcome to the conversation.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning, Michael. Hello, Michael. Michael. Oh dear, apologies, Michael. 9.3 Mira from Okrika. Go on, please.
Hi, Jude, good morning.
Good morning, please.
Jude, for me, it feels as though there's practically no justice in Nigeria.
Why do you say so?
Honestly. If this death sentence will not, may eventually not be carried out, then where is the justice? Where is the closure?
Well,
for the family.
I'm not saying this one in particular. I'm just saying generally when people have had scenarios like that. We have people on death row whose death sentences have not been signed. It's not just this one.
I know, Jude. Yeah, those ones that have been that are in death row now. There are persons that are even waiting for this sentence to be carried out. And there's nothing. There are people that are waiting for closure on those matters as well. And this one will be included. I'm speaking generally as well. For me, it seems as though when I heard it yesterday, I told myself, I said, this sentence may be too much for the crime. Maybe eventually we'll know that he will say maybe a life sentence or something, but death by hanging. Well, that's okay. Let me leave it to the lawyer's prerogative. Maybe they find something more incriminating. But for the fact that it may not be carried out, did you know? We've seen on social media, I've heard that. I don't know if but people are talking and saying that persons come out of prison, they pay prison ward and wardens, they come out, do 1 or 2, and go back. Do 1 or 2, it's as if they're living normal lives. They go, they keep families, they go and do, they even go commit crime and come back, bring the largesse, they share it to the warders. All these things happen. And you see that eventually you see that these people, and maybe the person, the culprit will now...
Okay, Miriam, sorry, let's just quickly get to a break.
For more talk, news and sports, stay tuned.
during this investigation, the cooking utensils don't get to be released. It takes a while. Sometimes you will dance, go around. Sometimes Mama Emeka may just come out and even forget or forgo those cooking utensils because she just wants to go home to her 2 or 3 lovely children and not be bothered, about the cooking utensils. Does she want them? Yes, but is she going to be too bothered about the cooking utensils? Well, not so much. She just wants to be out. That's the same case. I'm using this as an analogy with scenarios for some people who get to hear that, this case has come to this point, judgment has been passed, it's a death sentence, but it's not passed. In fact, historically, in the past 3 decades, I don't think up to 20 death warrants have been signed in this country. I could be wrong, but the last time I read, not up to 20 in the past 3 decades have actually been signed in this country. People were sentenced to death, yes, but how many of those sentences were carried out? Now, if that is the case, how do you feel when you have those, things happen? Because I cannot, in fact, throughout last night, I couldn't help shake this feeling that if those death sentences for quote-unquote criminals, and I like the justice system, right, at least a fair one in any country, that would allow you to challenge a case. So let's say the judge says you are guilty, you can appeal, at least or up until it gets to the Supreme Court, right? You can appeal, no, this information was not there, we need this, we need that, and then maybe they can make an overturning of a judgment. It happens. We've seen this happen in the US, where individuals who were sentenced to death or sentenced to 25 years, some falsely accused of rape, spent 20, 30 years in prison, and then on the very, very, very day that the person has lost all hope, they find information, and the information gets to set them free. Yes, become free. So what if, ladies and gentlemen, those things lead to the deaths of other people? For example, when those governors refuse to sign those death warrants, but those governors seem very comfortable, or, as it has been alleged, they have certain misnomers happen under their watch. Certain local government councillors will now sign 2 billion instead of 200 million. They sign 2 billion. Monies funneled. Monies for education, building of roads, monies for defense, monies for the economic development of the state. They siphon it. And in so doing, they lead to the deaths of other people. They seem not to lose sleep, but to sign one, just maybe like 5, just sign a few people that the courts have actually deemed fit to face capital punishment, it becomes a big problem. I don't know how that makes you feel.
The views and opinions shared on this program do not represent the position of Nigeriainfo FM. Nigeriainfo, let's talk.
Hello, Port Harcourt, with Jude on 92.3 Nigeriainfo.
017. All right. WhatsApp is 0809 030 6416. 0809 030 6416. That's our WhatsApp and Telegram number. All right. Then at Nigeriainfo PH, at Nigeriainfo PH is where you'll find us on Facebook and on X at Nigeriainfo PH. My name is Jude. Welcome to the conversation. Good morning, please.
Good morning, Jude.
Good morning, John.
Well, when I heard that man speak yesterday, I just shook my head and I asked the question. The judge also award a scholarship to the children to be sponsored by federal government? Because that's the first question I asked. Those children lost their mother. And in the wisdom of the court or the judge, you are killing the father too, which means you have rendered the children
Orphans.
Fatherless. Orphans, Abi. So who not take the responsibility of taking care of the children? Is it the judge or the federal government, or you are just leaving the children on the mercies of their fate? So I don't know how most of these our criminal justice system work. You are accusing somebody of pulling the wife to commit suicide or to die or whatever.
No, she was beaten and she eventually succumbed to the injury she received. So it was murder. But John, I understand that what you're saying is a very real issue. So what happens to children? Maybe the children have been taken over by the family members. Their welfare, we don't know. But John, the real question here is, hold on, John. The real question is, when judgments get passed, right, and they are not effected, how do you feel?
Well, the truth is, you need money too, Jude. To be able to appeal, you need money to repay your barristers and we know how our criminal justice system works here in this part of the world. Without money, you may likely not get justice. So even if that man appeal that he needs money, does he have the resources to finance that appeal and to file and to pay barristers to Supreme Court? That is the question. That is why these men that have money go away with crime. Because they can follow up. You cannot follow up because you don't have the resources. To me, that judgment that judge gave is a very wrong and a bad precedent he has set. Unless he has also awarded or compelled the federal government to take over the welfare of the children. If not, he has done nothing but to impoverish the children for what they don't know.
Well, that'll be another conversation for another day. But it's not a position at the moment. Okonkwo is in the line from Rumukuta. Okonkwo, good morning to you.
Yes, brother, just good morning.
Good morning, please.
The judgment of the man that was sentenced to death. Yes, what the man did, to my thought, was bad. Even the Almighty God, who makes that and gives life, condemns it in his holy book. But outside that, I want to ask, hope federal government has made adequate preparation for how to train their children.
That's our focus is not on the children, right? The focus is when this judgment, I use it as a story, when somebody gets a death sentence, a lot of the times those death sentences are not carried out. So if they're not carried out, let's say you and I know that the man down the street that used to kidnap people, they've caught him. They've said, oh, you are going to die. You killed so many people. Okay, now that man is in prison, you hear he has been in prison for 10 years, 15 years. They haven't carried out his sentencing. How does that make you feel? It's not just about this case.
Okay, is it the angle we are looking at?
Yes.
Okay, since it is that angle, Brother Jude, do you know the spiritual implications and damages of somebody signing the death sentence of somebody? Jude,
yes,
can any man use his hand and make a human being? It's only the Almighty that forms a baby,
okay,
and designs a baby in the womb and brings the baby out into this physical world.
Okay, fair enough.
So every person is afraid of the spiritual implications. So that is why no one.
But the man or woman who committed that crime was not afraid of killing somebody. The armed robbers,
yes,
you know what? They were not afraid. The terrorists, when they were not bothered about blowing up a school with children. So if those kind of people get caught and they decide that okay, we should punish them. If the people who caused you pain and your family to suffer, if they are caught, right? How then should you be worried about you staining yourself for their death? They already signed their life away.
Yes, there's another punishment measure. And that measure is let the person go for life imprisonment.
Okay.
That is the best. Brother Jude, you know that the Almighty God is too big and more than our knowledge and wisdom.
Fair enough.
And anything that God makes is dangerous for somebody to harm, to destroy it. So the death is life imprisonment. But I cannot sign the death warrant to somebody.
Okay, no, let's say you cannot. But the question is, so what if somebody, right, has been found guilty, and then they say, okay, because of this crime, this thing you did was so bad, you have
because when you look at the death sentence and also life imprisonment, you say that the difference is not much because the person stays in the prison and suffers until he naturally dies. So than somebody committing himself by signing the death sentence. So the best to me is life imprisonment. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Congo from Port Harcourt. Once again, let me phrase this so that everybody gets the understanding. So the death sentence or any sentence at all, right, has been passed, but it has not been effected. Release this man, for example, just as you have some of the agitators for Nnamdi Kanu. They said court said they should release him. They said they should do that. Or they found that they brought another case, a leveled against him. Or they said okay, they should give this land back to the community of this place. The people say no, we've built houses, and they go back and forth. It can be very frustrating. So my question is, when you get to have such scenarios, how do you feel? Particularly when, in this case, the death sentence might be the closure for some people. Zion is on the line. We have JJ also standing by. Go on, Zion.
That is why, to a large extent, I still feel that as a country, Nigeria, we're not fully formulated. We're not fully formulated to be a country. A lot of ingredients that should make us are still lacking. Finding the death sentence as a closure shouldn't even be considered. But from the question you asked, in our present setting, they almost lie on the state to carry out the executioning. Because of what? The courts have already decided in our wisdom. But it shouldn't be. What it should be is the absence of the state and the Federal Bureau of Prisons supposed to be the one in charge. I stand to be corrected. Do we have any agent like that? Federal Bureau of Prisons or Federal Bureau or State Bureau of Correctional Centers. They are the one that have the charge to do that execution. That is why today we don't have it. If you go to the prison, you see a lot of people on the death row waiting for Mr. Governor to sign. Oh yeah. And unfortunately, governors don't have that time.
Well, is it they don't have that time? Because Zion, they will not sign the death warrants, but they will sign checks. They will allegedly sign contracts, give to people who don't do them, and those contracts will lead to the deaths of other Nigerians.
If it is you, would you do that? Would it concern you and that one? That is why we need to create that agency, that bureau of federal prisons, that bureau that have in charge of the controlling the movement the judge passed the matter. The thing have gone to all the levels. The Supreme Court still affirming that sentence this person. You are not waiting 3 days. You are not waiting 4 days.
You should do it.
Immediately execute the person.
Okay, Zion, thank you very much. JJ is on the line from Go. JJ, good morning to you.
Yeah, Jules, good morning.
Good morning, please.
Do you remember our friend Arnold Schwarzenegger, a.k.a. the Terminator, a.k.a. Commando, and a.k.a. Plenty, Total Recall, and all those?
Former governor of California, yes.
God bless you. You have the extra knowledge of the subject matter right now. At the time, a guy, I don't know if I get his name correctly, a black guy who killed an entire family and wiped them from the surface of this earth with his blow. A street gang leader that had over 150 followers, and at the end of the day was sentenced to death by lethal injection. I don't know if you remember this.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, his own people, Arnold Schwarzenegger is not from America originally.
He's Austrian.
I think he's from Austria.
Yes, he's Austrian.
His people in Austria built a stadium that they want to name after him as one time Mr. Olympia. Now, what is standing between him and that stadium is Toki Williams' death. They were pleading that Toki Williams, when he was in the prison, wrote a book that saved over 150 million children from joining Jesuit. That he has done more than the evil he has committed, so he should be free. You know what Arnold Schwarzenegger did? He tends to assign the death sentence of that of Williams to die by
little injection.
Yes. Now, I think that was done in a film they call, I think was it Revolution or Evolution or something. I'm trying to get it in a movie that was replicated. Now, why am I saying this? Arnold Schwarzenegger said this man has committed an offense, and the state, up to the Supreme Court of America, has also found him guilty. At that stage, when people say, "Oh, I'm not going to sign that," you are not the one signing. It's the state that is signing. It's just that, as at that time, there is this assets and liability. It's part of what you ought to do as the one holding the state as at that time. So why won't you do it? It's your job. Like you rightly said, it's not just about signing contracts. It's also signing this old stuff too for society to move forward. So why won't you do your job as a man that has been voted for to do your job, Jude? So for me, I think nobody should shy away from it. I learned Reverend King and some other persons are still in prison waiting for who will sign their death sentence. And at the end, they were told that there is no hangman. How long does it take to train a hangman? But there are people who can have 500, 700 something houses, and they go to tell court that they should not forfeit it. Two places in the same society. We begin to feed people who are supposed to have gone long ago. We keep feeding them. And that's somebody's budget, and that's somebody's shopping. No, now, we should do the right thing. According to Putin, my homie, he said it's his job to send people to God, let God forgive them if he wants to. We should do the right thing. Thank you.
JJ, thank you very much. We have an anonymous caller from Port Harcourt. Good morning to you, please.
Hello, Jude. Good morning.
Good morning, please. Welcome.
Yeah. Well, what I would call the travesty of the Nigerian justice system is such that to answer the question you ask, how would one feel, if a death sentence has been pronounced and then the governors or those who are saddled with the responsibility of signing just sign, how would one feel? Of course, naturally bad. Of course, there is no sense of justice. But do you know, Jude, the tragedy of this is not just that the governors don't sign the death warrants, but that even the law empowers the governors to sign prerogative of mercy.
Oh, pardons, you mean?
Hello, sir.
To grant pardons. To grant pardons, you mean?
Yeah, so the one who is convicted now, the governor can also reverse this judgment by signing prerogative of mercy and releasing them. That's where it is even much more worrisome. Because if the law has sentenced someone to death and the governor does not sign, and that same law allows the governor to sign for prerogative of mercy or to release such a person from the arms of the law, where is justice in the whole of this scenario?
Well,
it's worrisome.
Wait, hold on. I think in that case, right? I think that it's not just in Nigeria. In other parts of the world, you have presidential pardons, governor pardons, and all those type of things. But it's usually granted for maybe lesser crimes, and then sometimes on basis of appeals, you have certain pressure groups that will come. Oh, please, this man, please help him. He made a mistake, that seems fair.
Yes, and the question is, why should we begin to use the pressure group and such sentiments?
I see.
in the issues of criminality and justice. Why should we begin to budge? Why should we begin to surrender to sentiment? For me, it's neither here nor there. Do you know what? There was a colleague of yours, I don't know whether you met him if he came into the system, Mr. David Wabra. He once worked in Nigeriainfo.
Okay.
He was murdered in cold blood in front of his father's house here in Rumosli. 2-3 months ago, I learned that the murderer had been sentenced to death. And then family members came and saying, well, they are satisfied that justice has been served. And the question I ask from my own end, what justice has been served when the young man is still alive? What justice has been served when there is the possibility that the death warrant will not be served?
Would not be served.
Or signed, rather. What justice has been served when there is the possibility that sometime in the future, the governor can grant that criminal the prerogative of mercy? So it's such a confusing situation here for us. For me, justice is neither here nor there with what is happening.
It's a very challenging scenario. I look, like I said, I had a very difficult night sleeping, as I pondered on these issues. And you can make an argument for and against. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about, opening ourselves, to criticism and scrutiny. In all of these things, whether you agree with the form of punishment, in this case, if it's a capital punishment, or whether it is extended or hard labor, like one of our respondents said, oh no, he doesn't like capital punishment. Instead, let the person, serve lifetime in prison with hard labor and spend the rest of his days, and such. It may feel like that's the appropriate thing. But even in that scenario, there are people who were sentenced to, hard labor in this country or just sentenced to prison. They're not actually doing hard labor. All right. I don't want to be whipping up sentiments. This is not about sentiments. This is actually about, the effect of these laws and their enforcement. Really. All right, Asati Kowe says, greetings, Jude. Nigeria is one of the worst hypocritical societies I've ever come to know. This is the only country where the judiciary tells you that the law is not morality and that this governor swore to keep it. And when the same law speaks, they suddenly invite morality. This same morally upright man signs series of death sentences in his policies and rascality of governance. If the pronouncements of courts were not carried out, then where is the justice? Where? That's a very good take on this. So on one hand, okay, you don't agree, with the policy that says you must not use your siren you not change it to favor yourself. And in so doing, in favoring you and those in quotes who have power, you impoverish or you make those who are beneath you, feel the heavy weight of your excesses. Where is the justice in that, really? Where is, you sign bills, right, that are meant to protect the people, and then you very ignominiously vacate your responsibility as the enforcer of those bills, and you go awry doing the same thing you said people shouldn't do. Where is the justice? That's what Setiko is asking. Where? Anonymous says, it's not that the governors don't have the time to sign death warrants. It's that they don't want to and they don't like doing it. It's like lawyers that are Christians who say they don't believe in divorce. So if you go to them, even if your spouse is killing you, they'll start preaching to you. In the military area, executions were carried out. It's just one signature and everybody has time to put one signature down on paper. The imposition of death sentence no longer carries the same weight as it did prior to the late 90s because everybody knows there will be no execution. Yesterday, when the news came out that Odusachi's husband was sentenced to death, it's in Abuja. So Wike is the one to sign it. But if you go by history, how many did he sign in the 8 years he was governor of River State? None. So what will actually happen in reality is he will stay on death row till he dies. Or there will be a jailbreak during which he will escape and be spirited out, or someone will claim to have granted him clemency and he will go free. Tricky times, really, tricky times. We'll be back after this break to wrap up.